Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I am your host, Rafi Harel. This week we are going to be speaking with Moshe Feiglin, and this is a guest I've been wanting to speak to for quite a long time. Somebody I've been following on social media for quite a few years. He is a former Knesset member, founder of the Zahut party, formerly Likud leader, an IDF veteran, fought in Lebanon. He was a captain and one of Israel's most influential political philosophers. He's written extensively about Jewish identity, Zionism, liberty, and the future of Israel. He has quite a few books. One being The War of Dreams. He has From the State of the Jews to the Jewish State, Where There Are No Men. And I know you have either six or seven books, correct?
Yeah, the latest one in English is that book, Israel is Just the Beginning, that for a while was a bestseller on Amazon under the category of Middle East Studies, and I recommended very highly recommended to understand what's going on here.
I know Mike, who goes by Coptic Kapara.
Right.
He was the one, and I want to thank him publicly because he was the one who connected us. Of all people, it was a non-Jewish Tzioni, a non-Jewish Zionist, who ended up making the connection. So you see,
He actually, I felt a bit embarrassed when I heard him. He said it's the best book he ever read in his life. This is something that even I didn't expect it.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'll admit I haven't yet, but I definitely took some small pieces from it, and I definitely want to go into some very important discussions with you because you have an outlook on Judaism, Zionism, religion in general, and the way we need to go forward, the way that the Jewish people and the Jewish state need to go forward in order for us to stop making the same mistakes, which lead to the same insane results. And so, what I want to kind of go into with you first is what is a Jewish state? Because I think Israel has been so confused as to whether we're a Western democracy or whether we're a Middle Eastern Jewish state.
Well, I think we have to start with to begin with the question, what is Judaism altogether? What is a Jew? Okay. Then when we understand when we'll have some kind of a definition of Judaism, we can start talk about what is a Jewish state and ask ourselves why why we need it at all. Okay, why do we need it at all? Many people who opposed Herzl did not think it's a good idea. Haredim, for example, some of the ultra orthodox still think it's a bad idea. But the opposition for the idea did not come only from the religious point of view, but also from the organizations like the Bonds, who was bigger than Zionism at the beginning. So, with your permission, I'll go to the basic. What is Judaism altogether? Well, the best definition that I can give to Judaism is the covenant between the people of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, Jacob, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and God. Okay, when God took them out of Egypt, we became a nation under a covenant of existence. And when we got the Torah and the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, there was a second covenant, a covenant of a purpose, of a goal. So there are two covenants here with God, a covenant of existence. We owe our existential uh, uh, um, existence to God through the covenant we had already in Egypt. Then the first time we are mentioned as a nation, in the Torah, is already in Egypt when God is come and take us out of slavery to 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 uh, to the Egyptians, to Paro, to the Pharaonites. Okay, before then we were family, tribes. We were not a nation. When God came and took us out, we became a nation. The first one that calls us a nation, by the way, is Paro. There's a nation that is going to come from within and destroy us, says Paro. Hen am Bnei Israel rav ve'atzum meitanu. The people of Israel are growing inside of us. Okay, so the first one that calls us a nation is Paro himself, and then from a nation based on his existence, we become a nation based on our faith, based on our covenant with God, and based on our goal and purpose on Mount Sinai. So the answer of what Judaism is all about, it's about the covenant between the people of Israel and the God of Israel. Okay. Now, why do we need a state altogether, or a kingdom, if you want to call it this way? Okay. Uh, the answer is to fix the world in the kingdom of God. That's the reason why God created that nation, saved this nation from slavery to Egypt, and gave us the covenant on Mount Sinai and the Ten Commandments, and gave us the land of Israel, the land of the Canaanites. It did not belong to us before. We God gave it to us, took it from them and gave it to us. That's the Holy Land. And the purpose is to take over the Holy Land and to build in Jerusalem the palace of God, so all nations can come and pray and worship God through that nation. And because there is no king without a nation, so we are the nation of the King of Earth, of King of all, of the Almighty. And by doing that, achieving that process, we we uh, um, we make God, the Almighty, the King of the whole world, to fix the world in the kingdom of God. So that's the basic purpose for the creation of the Jewish nation. And the state of Israel, the Jewish state, supposed to serve that basic purpose. There is no other need for a Jewish state.
Interesting. Okay, so you mentioned, I just want to play devil's advocate on one thing you mentioned is that it wasn't initially ours, right? It belonged to the Canaanites. Now,
Right.
obviously, people are gonna say to themselves, "Well, don't some Palestinians fall under the category or the identity of Canaanites?" Would you push back on that? What would you say?
Sounds like a joke.
Hmm.
Seriously speaking, it sounds like a joke. Um, of course, there's no connection between this assumption and any historical reality.
Gotcha. Okay, but I mean, like, where did we come from then? I mean, what's our origin? Is it
We are
Iraq?
the
Is
we
it
are we are the
Mesopotamia?
descendant. We, as I said, as I mentioned before, we are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mhm.
We know exactly where we were. We know our history. We know exactly the names of Jacob, of the 70 people in Jacob family that went down to Egypt. We know the time. We know everything, up to the hour, even if it was in the morning, in noontime, or in the evening. We know our history much better than the Americans know their history. Do the Americans know all the names that were on the Mayflower? Okay,
No, I bet they
they,
don't.
they,
Yeah, I guess
they don't. We track our history. Above any doubts. Any doubt. We know exactly who we are, where we were, and what we went through, and here we are. We came back just as God promised us, and there's a purpose why we came back. There's a purpose why God that we got this covenant with. Okay, gave us national life, national existence above all odds, above all rules of history, above all, nature of any other nations. We were supposed to disappear thousands of years ago, and here we are because God, when God make His promise, He fulfilled it. He fulfilled it. So the covenant still exists, even though some Christians try to say it is not. And here we are back in our homeland. The problem is that we try to create ourselves um, as a nation like all the nations, like a normal nation, not a special nation as we are. And I'll tell you exactly the difference between other nations and us. We try to separate and not be connect anymore to that covenant, and that's why we have some problems in Israel. But once we will stick to our identity, and I'm not talking about religious identity, by the way, talking about understanding who we are and what is the purpose. We as a nation have a purpose to fix the world. And that's the reason, by the way, why we got that nation, that state to begin with. I'm writing in this book. People not aware of that, but the only reason we got the Balfour Declaration was that in 1917, when Lord Balfour uh, in London decided to give us the Balfour Declaration, him and his friends, the mayor of London and others, the reason why we got that declaration was a religious reason. They saw how the Enlightenment time uh, and the Industrial Revolution and all the achievements of that assumption that you can separate God from the geopolitical political life, okay? And man can run itself with his own morality, not connected to God. They saw what it led to. It led to the worst war, World War One, to machine guns and airplanes that throw bombs at people, and railroads that brings more and more soldiers to the front. Um, and Balfour and his friends said, maybe when the descendants of the prophets that will go back to the hills of Judea and create their kingdom again, their state again, a new message of optimism and faith and justice will rise for the entire humanity. These were the energies, spiritual energies, that gave us the Balfour Declaration. That is the foundation in the international law for the existence of Israel until today. Okay, so but we try to be instead of this special nation with this special message, we try to be a nation like all the nations and create ourselves as Israelis instead of Jews. And by doing that, slowly but surely, we lost our justification for our existence in Israel. And this is the core reason for the anti-Semitism that we see today.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, a reinvention of what the Jew is, because I think for most of our history we didn't have a very good idea. But one thing I'm just trying to, I don't want to make this the focus, of course, but I just want to understand it because maybe my viewers are also wondering is the thing you mentioned in the beginning. I kind of got stuck on it. Is like, where is our initial, like, where do we come from? Like, are we? I guess I'm kind of stuck on this myself, right?
Well, genetically, we're coming from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. National wise, we're coming from Mount Sinai. Okay, we became, and that's something I wanted to explain before. Usually, when you're talking about any other nation, what makes it a nation? It's a combination of people, can be families, tribes, and so on, that develop their culture that later on become a nationality on a certain piece of land. So um, I'm English because I came from England. I'm Italian because I came from Italy. What define me as a nation is the land where all this process of developing this culture and the language uh, happened. With us, with the Israelites, that was not the process. Okay, we became a nation not by a covenant between the people and the land, but by having a covenant between the people and the sky and God.
Hmm.
Okay, so that makes us something that very very unique. The Jewish nationality is a physical, normal nationality like all the nations, in, because Judaism is definitely also a nationality, but it's also a religion. Okay, Italian is not a religion. Christianity is a religion. Judaism is both. It's a nationalism and a religion at the same time. We are a physical nation and metaphysic nation at the same time. What makes us the last part of the chain of the human chain, human of all nations, okay? Humanity's chain, like all the chains, all the nations are parts of the chain. We are the last piece of the chain of humankind that connect humanity to God because we have both. On one side, the physical side that connect us to the entire humanity and other nation. On the other side, the metaphysic part that connects us to God. So humanity and all the nations need the nation of Israel to connect humanity to the Almighty, and that process will be fulfilled when we will build the palace of God, which is of course, the temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where all the nations can come and worship God.
Okay.
That
So,
that, that that's the big Jewish I would say epos. That's the story of the people of Israel. Okay, and the state of Israel should be a state that from one hand is a modern, physical, have army, police, rules, everything that any other state has, but always remember what it's supposed to serve. What's the top goal of its existence?
right, because otherwise we're just like any other country,
And
which
yes, and when we see ourselves just like any other country, we cannot answer the question you asked at the beginning, or meant to ask. So, what gives you the right to throw away the Arabs on at the 48 war and build and build your own country on the ruins of over 600 Arab villages? Uh, if the Germans did to you what they did in World War II, let them solve the problem. Why do you solve the problem on behalf of the Arabs? And of course, it's nonsense because they started the war and all that. But the bottom line is that you find itself harder and harder to answer these questions. Okay, that they throw when you're inventing yourself as a nation and starting your history only from 1948. It's very hard to answer these questions. We're trying to answer this question by showing how humane we are and liberal we are, and we
Right.
have gay parades, and we are very and we're willing to sacrifice our soldiers in order to let them fight first, shoot first, and all this nonsense, and trying to show that we are a good guy, we are the good guys. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help us because it doesn't answer the basic question: what is the justification for your existence here? Why? Okay, that's and what I've just said is the only reason.
Right. I very much agree. I actually want to get into that with you when I talk about Israel's future and Gaza. But the next question I want to ask you, Moshe, is a very unanswerable question, seemingly, is how do the Haredim and the non-Haredim in Israel make sense of everything that's going on with not drafting? I mean, large, I would still like to believe a good portion of Israelis want them to be able to learn Torah, but at the same time, they feel that a lot of them are not doing so. A lot of them are just sitting around collecting checks, waking up at 2 in the afternoon. And while these mothers and fathers are sending their sons and even their daughters into either wars or conflict zones, and all these Haredi protests are going on, and just this chaos. So, if say you were in the prime minister's chair and you had the ability to affect change, because currently right now it's a mess, what would be your solution?
Well, the Zahut platform gives a solution that changes the whole way we the whole draft, the whole way we calling people to the army, and that solution um, is the best for the Israeli security on one hand. It's also good for the Haredim. Basically, the concept that we're coming is everybody should serve, everybody should become a should be should become soldiers with no difference between Haredim and seculars and so on. But for the shortest time needs for basic training. So everybody becomes soldiers. Everybody becomes a part of the reserves. Everybody knows how to use M16, and after a month or so, everybody goes home with their weapon in a safe and have it in their home, just like in America that everybody has their guns at home. Also in Israel, and we saw at the 7th of October that wherever people had the ability to defend themselves, and I forgot to say that they going home and becoming part of the security units in their cities and wherever they live, like like okay, they know They know in case there's something like the 7th of October happens, who's their commander, and from which window they watching, and what do they know what they're supposed to do in time like that. So this is the
Kitat Kunanut, like a neighborhood watch, so to speak.
neighborhood watch. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Gotcha.
Uh, and of course, they part of the reserves. In case of emergency, you can call them and train them more and use them as from truck drivers and watch guards or train them to a higher level of ability to become combat soldiers as well. Those who wants to continue after that basic month of training, to much more uh, serious uh, uh, service, getting salary from day one, just like in America, and the best training and the best weapons, and and when they finish, they get a lot of things from the states. For example, they learn at the university on behalf of the state. They'll be the first one to get jobs in the any kind of work for the state. They'll be the first ones to get piece of land, as we also believe the land of Israel, to the building land should belong to the people, not to the state. Just like in America, by the way, most of the land is private land and not state land. Um, and that combination between the basics that everybody have to do and and the further service that only those who wish to do doing, and as I mentioned, is the basic combination not only for the Haredim but also for, I don't know, ultra leftists that don't want to serve or whatever. And it will bring more security to the state of Israel, because when everybody have weapons in their homes and the reserves are much bigger than what you have today, and you can, in time of emergency, bring them all whenever you need them, um, uh, this is the best solution.
But how are you going to get them to trust you and to listen to you? Because as of now, they don't believe that there's any unit that's religious enough. You have the Chashmonaim unit, for example, which is supposedly fully religious, but it doesn't look like anything is good enough, anything is religious enough. So how do you get them from not protesting, and how do you actually get them on board without? I mean, what do you do?
Well, first of all, you can watch on YouTube. I'm talking to many Haredim. I spoke to one of the ultra Orthodox, ultra Haredi yeshivot. They invited me, and you understand Hebrew, you'll understand the whole thing.
Mhm.
You'll see that they like it, first of all. Once they understand the concept, most of them like the idea. But you're absolutely right. Part of the problem is not the Haredim. Part of the problem is the army itself, that became very progressive. Many politicians and ideologists, the ultra leftist, uses the army to try to change people, and we have to fix it. We have to fix it. Uh, Yes, the problem is not only on the Haredim side, it's also on the Israeli society side, and definitely in what's happening in the army.
Mhm.
Yes, we should the first stage that I'm talking about can be mostly done in the summertime, when they don't learn under the frame, and then the hashgacha, as they call it, the inspection of the rabbi. They will see no women, and the food will be ultra kosher. That's not a problem. But those who wants to continue to serve afterwards, yes, you're right. The army should fit itself to the Jewish nation need, and not to the crazy uh, uh, progressive concepts.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, if we made the entire army more Jewish according to halacha, according to Jewish law, then the Haredim would be more open to serving. Is that the understanding?
I'm saying there are two stages. The first
Okay.
stage is not a problem at all. Train the Haredim for a month, okay, for a full month. You can do in a very isolated way, inspected by their own rabbis, with no halachically problem at all. They'll see no women. The food they'll get from their own kitchens if they want. That's not a problem. I mean, you can solve all that very and easy if they will. That can solve very easy.
Hmm. Hmm.
But those who wish to continue, okay, I want the army to be good, not only for the easy to serve, not only for the ultra orthodox. Every Jew that wants to, I don't want to sleep in the same room with a woman, okay? Why should I? I think also a non-religious married man should do that. And the Israeli army became crazy, totally
Yeah.
crazy. It seems like the progressive ideas and feminists' ideas and LGBT ideas are much more important than a victory on our enemies.
Right. Yeah, we cave in a lot. It's a deep problem, I think, in the Jewish psyche where we really want to be liked to the point
Hmm.
where we think
Right.
self-sacrifice, self-sabotage is better than survival as long as we have this belief, this delusion that people will like us more if we self-sabotage.
Look,
And we s-
it's not a uh, I would say combat between believers and non-believers. Okay, it's not a battle between a those who believe and those who don't believe. Okay, it's a battle between those who believe in God and those who believe that God exists and those who believe that God do not exist. Okay, both sides are believers. Though these are one side believes in reality, believe in existence, and the other side believes that that is not. But it's two religions. It's two religions. One is a positive religion, one is a negative religion. But it's two religions. I cannot prove that God exists, but the other side cannot prove that it doesn't exist. And obviously, seriously speaking, to believe that the world create itself, you need much stronger energies of belief than to believe that God created the world. Okay, the progressive ideology of the progressive religion is is those believers in that religion are much stronger believers because they are much less rational. So we're talking about the religion here, and here we go. They're using the army to force their religion. This is what's when I go out to the streets of Israel. Okay, when I go to Petach Tikva, for example, or even Jerusalem, and all the streets are covered with gay flags. Okay, that's a religious coercion. It's a flag of a religion. This
right,
is what it is. Okay, I will not see a try try ask the city of Tel Aviv to put a Chabad flag, for example, all over the city. See what happens. Okay,
right.
everybody will
I
be
get
out on the streets demonstrating. Okay, so you're talking about a religious coercion here that's using the Israeli military. and also, of course, the justice system to force their religion.
I guess in a way they're both religions. You know, the seculars would say you're forcing your Judaism on me, and the Orthodox
Yeah, how?
Jews would say,
How do I force my Judaism on you?
oh, I'm just playing devil's advocate, by the way. But what I'm saying
I
is
know, but it's just words. I just gave you
well,
an example.
yeah, well, it's more like, for example, the secular Israelis that are in the army would say, "We don't care about kosher. Now meaning you're forcing us to eat by a certain standard. We don't choose that standard for ourselves. Now we're forced to abide by that standard. The same way you don't want, you could say the Haredim don't want all the gay stuff going on around them, which is fair for them to want that. You know, meaning it goes both ways. But you're saying both of them are beliefs. So the
Right.
Haredim, the
The example here, the example of kosher in the army is a very good example. We're supposed to fight together against our enemies. So you eat ham and you eat a chicken, and for you it doesn't matter, okay?
Mhm.
But if I if you'll try to serve me a pig, a ham in the army, I'll starve. I will not be able to fight. What can we do? Okay. The army serve so Ben Gurion decided all the kitchens in the army will be kosher, and that was once you force people to be together, okay, you have to make a decision. Do I go this way or the other way? When you letting when you putting men and women in the same room in the army is just like serving ham to the whole to all the soldiers.
Oh, so that's a good way. So okay, but Moshe, when you're using like the religious argument of like you know, the progressives have their belief and their religion, and then the Haredim have their religion. That was a little harder for me to piece together when you're saying if both people, meaning we're obviously of the same people, we're all Jews, but if two different groups of people have different ways of looking at something, but we want there to be a synergy or a cohesiveness, then if we make certain compromises, we can now have that synergy. That kind of makes more sense to me because it in a sense benefits both groups. You know what I'm saying? Like the no pork aspect, I think first of all, I think a majority of Israelis probably don't even eat pork anyway. I mean, maybe some wouldn't
True.
care if they lived in Los Angeles, but most Israelis grow up understanding that okay, pork is just not a thing we do. If I want to go find it in Israel, I can find it, but it's not the everyday standard thing. It's still frowned upon. It's seen as not the right thing to do. So I think I know you're just using that as an example, but I think I actually like what you're saying. I think it's very wise. We can, for example, create an IDF where unless you really maybe need to take care of some medical issues, maybe you need to get your a tooth pulled or a cavity fixed, you don't need to have men and women on the same base. Like I think these co-ed units are I don't know, maybe Magav. I mean, maybe in certain circumstances, but even then, you can separate the sleeping quarters. There's a lot of ways to do it. Um, it would just take for I think it would take some time before the Haredim would trust this. I just don't think they would.
No, I mean, look,
Yeah.
the concept that just explained allow the Haredim and any other Israeli who
Hmm.
don't want to serve a long time. I'm against anything that is done specially for one group. Okay, on that issue, I totally understand the say that how come this group serves more and this group serves less just
Right.
because they are wearing different clothes. It's ridiculous. It's not.
Hmm.
It should not be like that. So no problem. Do your basic training. Go home 2 weeks every year you'll go to Miluim just to keep yourself in shape and shoot few bullets to the target and go back home. You can do that without sleeping in outside home. You can do it under the inspection of rabbis if you want, and you fulfill your obligations to the society, and you can work, and you can learn, and you can do whatever you want, and we'll have one important thing less to fight about, okay, against each other, one against each other. But if you wanna continue, yes. Now we're not talking about that part. We're talking about if you wanna those who wanna do more than that. Yes, the army has to stop being a religious tool by certain circles, small minority circles in Israeli society, those who call themselves liberals, that basically using the army, and not only the army, also the justice system, as a tool for a religious coercion. This is what it is.
Mhm.
This is what it is. You know that when on Yom Kippur, before the 7th of October, I'm sure you heard what happened here in Israel, okay? People with LGBT flag, the gay flag, okay? On one hand, they held I have pictures here in my book. Uh, on one hand, they held the flag. On the other hand, they went to those people who try to pray like they do every year on Yom Kippur and destroy that little mechitza, this little wall between men and women, because that's the way Jews all for thousands of years are praying, and were very violent, marched even into synagogues. It was like a little pogrom.
Mhm.
I believe it is one of the reasons for the 7th of October, my personal belief, okay? It was very, very hard to watch. Very, very hard to watch, okay? Reminds you things that happened to Jews in Europe. Horrible, horrible what happened here.
Mhm.
It is very violent, and it covered itself in nice words of liberalism and so on. It has nothing to do with that. It's a religion, and that has to stop. That has to stop. Definitely using the army for that, where people are forced to go, and then when they're there, the army become. These forces are using the army. Look, I served in the army through the First Lebanon War. I lost a lot of soldiers at the war. I became an officer already in 1981 at the army. Uh, the Israeli army in 1967 did not have women in the combat unit and took over a quarter of the Middle East. Okay, in 6 days. Don't try to sell me stories that you need these women in the tanks. No, you're using the tanks, okay, to um, getting those women, okay, not because you need the women there, but because you're using these poor women soldiers as a front for pushing your progressive ideology. It's not about security. It's about progressivism and feminism and all this nonsense. This is what it is. I don't see, there is the Mondial contests right now. I don't know how much they watch it in America because football, but also let's say the NBA in America. Okay, the basketball teams. Did you ever see mixed women and men playing basketball in at the NBA contests?
Right.
No, why? Why not? It's not fair. Why don't you see it? Because one reason in sports, you want to win.
Yeah.
It's about time that we'll understand here in Israel that's also in the wars we're supposed to win. It's not a game. It's not a kind of progressive game over here.
We definitely have an issue with this. We have a I mean, I think there are definitely moments where women can
And by
play
the
a
way, excuse
very
me for stopping you. I'm not against women serving in the army, not
okay,
at
because
all.
I was going to push back on that and say
But
this.
the question is where in the army? Okay.
Okay, that's okay. But by the way, real fast, Moshe, because I wanted to make a point about Haredim. I think Haredim also have to be uh they have to put it very frankly, and pardon my French, sometimes they have to take the stick out of their tuchus. I think like they expect everyone to cater to them sometimes. And for example, if you have a strong belief in your Judaism, then you shouldn't be afraid of of you know if I need to close myself off completely in order for my Judaism to actually have power. This is what Yishai Fleischer, I believe, said to me on a podcast. I'm sure you're familiar with him, and I very much agree. If someone can influence you that easily, then how strong is your Judaism really? And so I understand the power of influence. I understand the power of, say your five friends, the people you surround yourself with, et cetera, et cetera. Even the strongest people can be influenced. But I also believe that if you need to have if you need to live in a bubble in order for your religion to be secure, maybe it's not that secure. You have you do you think that that holds some weight? I think it does. I think
Yes.
that's a very
Yeah.
powerful
I
point.
agree. I agree.
You're so
Yes.
scared, like, oh, if if I don't live in this tiny little world of mine, even the tiniest thing could influence me. Yeah, that's true. But maybe that's where you need to test your faith and see if it really holds any actual significance. You know?
There's definitely some truth in what you're saying. I think the problem is not Judaism, the problem is the Haredi ideology. The Haredi ideology, I don't think it can hold water. I agree.
There's also this
This understanding of Judaism cannot stand against the modern world.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
because it's also a meekness. It's a timidity. It's just built around like this chalash idea of, we're pacifists and we don't fight war and God's always going to fight the wars for us. And the whole country ideally should be sitting and learning, like we don't need the guns. We can just all, lay the arms down and God will just protect. And there's just in general,
Rafi,
even in,
I'm not gonna defend things that I don't believe.
right.
I'm not here as a lawyer of the Haredim, of the
Yeah, no, I don't
ultra.
think you are, by the way. That's actually not what I believe that you, I think you support a very strong Judaism, and I'm very much on board with you actually. I mean, as you know, most of my family lives in Yudav Shomron. I come from a very Tzioni family. Um, it's no surprise that I served in a very Tzioni unit. So I mean, it all kind of ties in. I think in general, the Jewish people in the religious world, even I grew up in New York. Uh, the religious movement in New York is very large. It's very prominent, but there's for some reason this honor, this dignity of being physically weak, physicality of any kind, martial arts.
No,
Uh,
look, you're absolutely right. I, let's put it this way. I believe that the concept of galut, diaspora, is gone, is ended. Okay, this punishment when the people of Israel did not behave the way God expected them, and we were punished, and our temple was destroyed, and we were sent to galut. Okay, together with the punishment, we got a promise that inside the galut we can make our Judaism instead of a national culture. Okay, instead of the Torah, will be national culture around the temple. Okay, our Judaism become a religion just like Christianity or Islam, religion that do not need territory and not need the land of Israel, the Holy Land under its feet, and not need the Beit Hamikdash. Instead of having being a that kind of a culture and that kind of a message to the entire world, we became a private religion for our communities in a diaspora. So the whole big epos, Jewish epos, became a religion of the individual instead of a national culture and message to the entire world. Um, but that religion itself kept our identity. And
Hmm.
because of that, because of keeping that religion, we kept our identity and we kept our memories, and we were able to go back to our land. But now, that good side of diaspora, of Galut, meaning that we can keep our Jewish identity out of Israel, is gone. And it doesn't matter if you a religious, non-religious, ultra-Orthodox, or Israeli that served in the army. Your kids are not going to be Jewish if you'll stay in a diaspora. It's not going to keep your identity anymore. Hopefully, you're not going to end up like those Jews who did not come to Israel on time during the 30s. But do not forget that if you open your eyes, you see the 30s all over again. So hopefully, no violence will be here in the process. But also the Haredim should understand, and I'm sure they don't, that religion itself will not keep their Judaism for very long. The descendants, the kids or children or maximum grandchildren will not be Jews anymore, if they'll be at all, if they're not coming to Israel. The Israeli identity and the Jewish identity becoming one today. There's tremendous change. Look, we see it from our enemies. They cannot say anymore, we don't hate the Jews, we're not anti-Semites, we hate Zionism. Oh, yes? So why do you attack the Haredim in Williamsburg? Why do you attack the synagogues? Okay, it's not true. When they fight against Israel, they fight against Judaism, because the Jewish history is being written today in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, not in London, not in New York, and not in Miami. I'm sorry. And if you disconnect yourself from the land of Israel, you disconnect yourself from the Jewish history, and the end will be that you'll disconnect yourself from Judaism. And that is true for the seculars and the ultra-Orthodox at the same time. They can still dream that by fulfilling the religion only, that will keep their identity. It's not going to work anymore.
Interesting. So it needs a deeper connection to identity, not just the belief of the religion itself. Like it's an identity thing, is what you're saying.
You need the land of Israel under your feet in order to keep your Jewish identity.
I see what you're saying. Uh, Hold on. Now I just want to go to. I just want to go to now the one state versus two state argument. Now, obviously, you and I are on team one state. It's the only way forward, as far as I understand. Correct me if you see it differently. Maybe you think something of this Emirates plan, like Dr. Mordechai Kadar. But I want to know what you say about Gaza and Judea and Samaria. What do we? How do we deal with this?
You know, when we
Obviously,
plant a tree, Rafi, in the seashore of Gaza, okay? I plant a fruit tree. Do I have to keep the rules of Judaism? I mean, I can eat the fruits only after the fourth year and so on. There's the Trumot Umasot, a certain amount of and these Jewish code that we got in the Torah exist only in Eretz Israel, in the Holy Land. When I plant a fruit tree in New York, and the next year it gives me fruits, I can eat it right away. In Israel, I have to wait 4 years because that's the mitzvah, that's the command. Okay, so when I plant a tree in Gaza, can I eat the fruit after a year or not?
No, because it still applies to the rest of Israel. Same law.
Yes, you're right, because Gaza
It's
is
part of
part
Israel,
of the land of Israel.
right?
And that's the answer. This is our land, not because we strong, not because we are, won the war. Might do not makes right. Okay, that's not the point. It's our land because this is the holy land that God gave us. Simple as that. It belongs to us because God gave it to us, and not to the Arabs, which some people decide to call Palestinians. The Palestinian so-called nation, or the creation of a Palestinian nation, is the biggest lie of the 20th century. Okay, there is no Palestinian nation, never exists, don't have history, nothing at all, and their intellectual admit it as well. Okay, it belongs to the people of Israel, which are the only nation that kept its connection as a nation to that part of the land of the world throughout all the years of diaspora. There was no other, since the Jews were sent away as punishment to the diaspora, no other nation set on that land as a nation, not as individuals or tribes or something, okay, or passed here and there, but as a nation. Since the Jewish nationality was destroyed and the temple was destroyed by the Romans, there was no other nation holding that part of the world until we came back. God kept his promise. It says in the Torah, "V'shamemu alea oivechem." Okay, when we will not be in the land, no enemy, no enemy's nation will be able to build itself on that land until the children of that land will come back home. And we came back, and it belongs to us. And you have nothing to do there in Gaza. Go back to where you came from. Definitely after what you did at the 7th of October, you should be happy that we don't kill you all, just as the Americans did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just in any other Japanese city that they could reach, just as the British people did in Hamburg and Dresden. You should be happy that we let you go after the horrors and the Holocaust day that you gave us at the 7th of October. uh, get yourself and find your future in a better place for you.
Right. Well, I happen to agree with you. The only challenge is it doesn't seem to be going in that direction. So I mean,
Only because of us. Only
right.
because of
So
the American
s-
Israeli government.
okay. So how do we actually do it? Do we meaning Egypt's closing the border? How do I guess we could? Who's going to pressure Egypt to do it? Do we send them on boats? I'm a unpolitically correct. Tell me like it is.
Well, first of all, at the first 2 weeks after the 7th of October, Egypt that uh, sent Egypt said that they'll take them, or at least 200,000 of them. There are only 800,000 of them altogether in Gaza, by the way, not more. Uh,
There's 800,000 currently living. You're saying not 2.2 anymore. There's 800,000.
800,000.
Okay,
Not
so
not
most you're
not
saying
not
you
not one more. Not one
okay.
more.
So you're
And
saying that most, I guess, a good portion. I guess most of them have already gone somewhere else. Is that what you're saying?
if the borders, if they express their will to leave whenever you ask them, all of them, and
Yeah, I know.
who will wish to stay in a place like that? Okay,
Of course.
they want to leave. We should open the borders and let them go and call the whole world. If you have a problem, take them. The Egyptians said at the first 2 weeks that they'll take 200,000 of them. Somaliland said that they will take. Scotland say they take. France said that they will take. Many countries said there are refugees, they'll take them. You know, tens of million refugees found their home in different places just in the last 20 years. At the end of World War II, there were 52 million refugees walking back and forth Europe, and they found their solutions. The only refugees that we keep as refugees are the so-called Palestinian refugees as a
Right.
time bomb against the Jews.
Right.
We should put an end to that. The solution is the same solution that ended up every war in the past. People don't remember the history, but when World War II ended, the Allies, mostly the Americans, marched about 12 million Germans who lived in the Sudets in East Europe, in East Poland, okay, for hundreds of years, more than whatever Palestinian claimed to be, okay? But because Hitler, Imach Shimo, okay, started the war, saying that he has to take the Sudets and go into Czechoslovakia in order to protect these Germans, okay? So they were marched through in the entire continent back into the ruins of Berlin.
Mhm.
Over 1 million Germans, men, women, and children died in the process. I'm talking after the war.
Right.
But why did they do this? Because they wanted to have this 80 years of peace in Europe afterwards. And they did. So after the 7th of October, we should have final peace also in Israel, and send these monsters, this Islamo-Nazi entity that we ourselves created in Oslo and in the disengagement plan, send them on their merry way. And frankly, Rafi, it's their problem where they're going to go, not my problem.
Right. The only question is how to actually make it happen because it
Just
doesn't
open the
look like.
borders, and the problem will solve itself. Just
Yeah, but
open
how
the
do you
borders.
get right? But how do you get the borders to open because they're not opening?
Let them stay in refugee camps on the seashore of Gaza, and slowly but surely, those who are not direct militant, okay, will find their solution.
Right, but I'm
The,
saying Egypt is
the,
not agreeing to do it. So how do we get Egypt to agree to do it? Because they're not doing it. Isn't that what I'm saying? No. Can we
yes,
do it?
yes, you're putting. First of all, Egypt is a direct threat on Israel for many reasons. Okay, there are many forces that you can put on Egypt. Look, your president Donald Trump came with that exact solution at the beginning and started to put pressure on Egypt to take at least a good portion of them, and countries in Africa that needs help, like Somaliland openly said they will, and other countries that I just mentioned, Brazil, for example, other countries in South America, countries in Europe. It's not a big portion of a big amount of people, and they want to leave. And there are countries that needs these immigrants who are skilled people because they were used to work in Israel before in a modern state. The real obstacle is us, the Israelis, who do not want this process. That we did not want to win this war. That's why it continued for 2 years, and we killed 1,000 soldiers of our own in order not to win.
Right.
It's in the Six-Day War. It took us 12 hours to take over the whole Gaza Strip
So
against the
what do we
Egyptian
do?
army, not against terror organization.
Right. So what are we doing right now? I mean, we have 60% is Israel on its way to 70%. Like, what's even the plan here? What do you think Bibi's trying to do here? Because it's
As usual, eat the cake and keep it complete. Keep it at the same time. You cannot. You have to openly say, "This is our land." The bottom line that the land that the Gaza Strip should be evacuated from any existence of any part of this Islamo-Nazi entity of Gaza. We're not the enemy is Gaza, not Hamas, not um, Islamic Jihad or whatever or any other organization. This entity is the enemy, and that entity cannot remain. If it will remain, our children will have to go again and fight again, and unfortunately, God unfortunately die again because of our mistakes. We did this mistake of giving them that land at the Oslo process and at the disengagement plan, and we should fix it and not roll the problem to the next generation. Okay? They cannot stay there. If the process will take a year or two until the last one will be evacuated from them, that's fine. Until then, they will live in tents, and whoever has a problem with that, invited to come and take some of them. No problem. Take them to Italy, take them to Turkey. Erdogan is welcome to take some as well. He took 10 million Syrians. He can take another 200 people of Gaza. You love
right.
them, you care about them. Let's be honest. No one really cares about them. They're interesting the world only because the
They're
Jews.
fighting
No
with
Jews.
us. Yeah,
No
because
no
they're
no
in
no
conflict
no
with us.
no no Jews, no news, as what's his name saying. Um, the famous podcaster. So with all due respect, it's ours. If you care about them, you're welcome to come and take them. But you won't need. They will find by themselves the places that will take them and will go there. And Israel will of course help with the process if need to be taking on buses to the Israeli airport. No problem. We'll help. We'll do everything. But the bottom line is that the future of that place is a Jewish future, not an Arab future.
Right. I hear you. I guess we're gonna have to figure out where they're gonna go because if no one's gonna take them in, then we have a problem. I'm
No,
not
we
really
don't
sure.
need to. We don't need to figure out. They need to figure out.
Okay, so then I hear what you're saying, but
It's not
if we're
our
not gonna,
responsibility. They should be. They listen. I want to be very, very clear. After the 7th of October, every day these people are still alive, they should
hmm
thank us. Okay? We owe them nothing. Nothing. No water, no food, no nothing. The border is open, the seashore is open. If they're dying of hunger, go ahead, give them food, give them water, take them. It's not my problem.
No, I know, but I'm saying
They, they,
unless
they,
we're
they, can, they can be in a big refugee camp at the south a part of the seashore of Gaza, surrounded with barbed wires, open to the seashore. You want to come with a fleet? You can come on one condition: if on the way back, your boat is full.
no, I hear what you're saying. The problem is if no one's gonna take that step, we have to take it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
No,
hear
no,
where
we
you're
don't.
coming
We
from.
don't. I don't care if they die. I
Okay,
don't care if they die because that's what they deserved from the beginning to begin with. I don't. Just as the Americans did not care of what's happening in Dresden and what is happening in Hamburg and in any city in any. They started a national war. They claim that they are a nation, right?
hmm
There is an identity, an upper identity above individuals. They started a war as a national entity, Okay? So they should take a responsibility for that. You start a war as a national war, you lost the war, now there's a price to. We cannot
I
continue this
completely agree
game.
with you. I
We cannot
completely
continue.
agree
We
with you.
cannot continue with this game that you start a national war and then you claim to have an individual rights.
And then
No.
you cry to the world to help you. Okay, but what I'm trying to say, Moshe, on a very simple level is if we don't if we don't get them to go, they might not necessarily, they might slowly trickle out by themselves over time, but right now they're just staying put. That's what I'm trying to say. Like they're not going
Well,
anywhere
I'm
right
saying
now.
that look, we see a tremendous wave of immigrations, okay, from Africa and Middle East to Europe, from South America to North America, and so on. Here we talk about 8,100 people. There are many countries that openly said already that will take some of them. You can minimize immediately the numbers, at
So what's
least,
what's
at
Israel
least.
waiting for?
Oh,
Take them on
oh,
buses.
thank you. So this is the question.
No, I'm saying
Everything you said.
take them on buses. Go get bring buses into Gaza. Take the buses to Ben Gurion, whichever airport. Get empty out the seats. Take them on flights to whichever country. That's it.
This is exactly what you need to do. True. I agree. If that will be the goal of the Israeli government, if that will be the plan, the Gaza Strip would have been empty already, long time ago.
Mhm.
Why doesn't happen? Because all kind of interests behind the scene. Okay? Okay? Not because it cannot be done. It can definitely be done. And do not forget that at the beginning of a year and a half ago, when Trump came with that idea, he was ready to put the United States of America behind that solution. He started to put force on pressure on Egypt to do so. Egypt would starve without the Americans' aid. Okay, Ethiopia, for example, can take some of them. Somaliland can take some of them. Sudan can take some of them. And
The
other
other
kind.
the other reality is not that they have a choice, but the Gazans don't want to go to these crappy countries. They want to go to Paris, they want to go to Switzerland, they want to go to Ireland, they want to go to the US more than anything. They want to go to the US. They they
Well,
want to
well,
go
when
to
you when you're standing them 700 trucks loads with Coca-Cola and cigarettes every day, why
yeah,
should they? Why should they?
right. Yeah, they
When you
definitely don't want to
starve,
go
you
to Ethiopia.
go. When you want to eat, when you want to drink, when you sleep in a tent for 2 years, believe me, you'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
And thank us from the bottom of your heart for be able to for still be able to breathe air after what you did.
Yeah. Yep, it's true. Let's see here. Yeah, the world has a very distorted idea of what war is, and they hold us to a standard they don't hold anyone else to. It's very interesting. Like, how could you kill your enemy? Like, you're so bad for killing your enemy. It's like, what? But my enemy would love to genocide me, but they're not capable of doing so. I, on the other hand, have the ability to do it, but I've chosen not to. And it's just wild how the world doesn't see that. It's very interesting to me. Uh, let's see here. What do you think, as far as Bibi is concerned? What do you think are his biggest mistakes, and then what do you think are his biggest successes?
His biggest
You
success was as a finance minister a few decades ago. Okay, on that field of treasury and economy, he also had a good achievement with gas. Israel today Most of our electricity comes from Israeli gas, natural gas. I was there at the Knesset at the time. The war against the leftist organizations and green organizations was crazy. They tried to keep the gas in the ocean. And today Israel is flourishing also because of that. So that is in many ways, I think, one of his biggest achievements. On the geopolitical uh, field, I think Netanyahu was a disaster, strategic disaster. The Israeli strategic situation is much worse today than it was when he came into power. Much, much worse. Uh, in all aspects. In all aspects. Netanyahu became a prime minister in 1996, against all odds, by the way, after the Rabin assassination, on top of tremendous wave of uh, demonstrations, mostly that I led with the Zahut. This is our land movement that I created against the Oslo process. He had all the legitimacy from his voters to erase these uh, agreements, horrible agreements that led directly to the 7th of October.
Hmm.
These agreements, Oslo agreements, I should remind people, brought back the PLO from Tunisia to Gaza. Okay, so you brought the terrorists and gave them weapon and put them on the right next to the kindergarten of the kibbutzim. And what did you expect to happen? So 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 Netanyahu got into power in 1996 in order to stop that process. Instead of that, he shook the hand of Arafat and continued the process and gave the legitimacy of the right side of the Israeli map to this process as well. Later on, he released Sinwar, who led the 7th of October horrors, and did many other things that also the way he dealt with a nuclear danger that was developed in Iran for the last 20 years. I
Hmm.
I told him in all the ways I could, privately, openly, that the direction he takes will lead to an atomic bomb by the Iranians. Of course, today they are almost there. When the chief of staff and the head of the Mossad 15 years ago, Meir Dagan, did not agree to start the operation against Iran, Netanyahu should have fired him.
Hmm.
By not doing that, he became responsible to the results. He started a different strategy of using the Americans and the American pressure in order to stop Iran. Well, look where we are now. Iran won the war. I said it for I and I screamed and yelled everywhere in the last 2 years that this is what's going to happen. Progressive countries and progressive cultures like Israel, like America, cannot win wars anymore because there's no identity anymore, no individual, no human identity. You can be a fox if you decide, not a sexual identity, of course. You can decide who you are, no family identity, and definitely no national identity. That's a primitive concept. Okay? So when you don't know who you are, you don't know who your enemy is. And when you don't know who your enemy is, you cannot win. It doesn't matter how many aircraft carriers you have. So it's not Hamas who attacked Israel. It's Gaza, or the entity of Gaza that attacked Israel. It's not Iran that America is. It's not the regime or the Iranian's army that America is fighting against. It's the Iranian state. and the Iranian nation that you're fighting against, but you try to divide between them. Okay, in every school they'll tell you that those who have the power to use the armed forces of the country, they are the country. Okay, uh, those who have the monopole on using the force represents the country, and which means Hezbollah is Lebanon, and Lebanon is Hezbollah. It's not Hezbollah who attacked us in the northern border of Israel. It's Lebanon, but we're looking for Hezbollah between the people. Did the
Right.
English army looked for when they bombed the Dresden and Hamburg? They looked who they throwing a bomb at? A soldier or civilian? Who is part of the armed forces and who is not? No. Wars is an act that is taken between nation entities, not individuals.
The only
So
thing that's
one side know who which is not the progressive side. I mean the Gaza, Lebanon, Iran. They know who they are. They know who their enemy, and that's why they're winning.
right. The only thing that people would push back on, and I would actually push back on as well, is the Gazans, for example, the majority of them support Hamas and what they did on October 7th. But the understanding in Lebanon and even Iran is that a very sizable portion of their populations don't support Hezbollah or the IRGC. So
Well,
do you think that's nonsense? Yeah,
it's first of all, it's not true. There's about a third that don't support the Shiites in Iran. And as I mentioned before, at the end of World War II, most of the Germans did not like the Nazi regime anymore. So should have stopped the war.
right,
As I mentioned before, when what count is who has the power to use the nation against you, to use the armed forces of the nation against you. Okay, that's the bottom line, and we should start caring of our own interests in order to save my people. Okay, I need to make their people pay a price. That's what I will do. And the rules of the war, no one wants to kill women and children. Of course not. Okay, but once the Germans with the Blitz, with the Luftwaffe's Blitz, the Air Force attack on London, they set up the rules, and the Brits and the Americans fought the war afterwards according to these rules. It cannot be that there will be one set of rules for one side and another set of rules to the other side.
right.
It's like Gulliver, the giant, that his hands are tied. No, no. I don't. I would love to fight a nice war, only armies against armies, and so on. But once you fighting a dirty war, you'll get a dirty war in return, and then the war will be very easy, very fast. We will not send our soldiers into the traps just because it's not nice to burn the whole city. No, and you didn't even to do even that. All you needed to do in order to win the war against Gaza is close the water supply. And
Mhm.
if you wish to have a cup of water, come out of the tunnel with the hostages. That's all you needed to do. But hey, we don't do things like that. There are children over there that needs to drink. Oh yes, we also had children that you slaughtered and put in ovens in front of the mother's face. It will this concept that we tying our hands on the account of our soldiers' life should come to an end. It is
Right.
immoral to fight like that. Immoral to leave this evilness alive and kicking on earth, on this uh, world, in this world.
Yep.
It's immoral from our side to keep this evilness live and kicking in our backyard.
Absolutely correct. Now, the last thing I want to. What does Israel look like in the next 10, 20 years? Are you optimistic that things are going to go in the right direction? What do you think?
I'm very optimistic because you cannot look at of what's happening in Israel without see the fingerprints of God all over. Mostly on three things. Okay, economically, no one can really explain what's happening here, but the Israeli economy is booming when the whole world is crumbling down. Okay, and not just booming through the war and beforehand with the Corona nonsense and so on. Uh, Something amazing is happening here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that we are the only micro civilization, as I call it, still having kids in the world, in its entire world.
It's
Okay,
tremendous.
it's amazing, and it's not only the ultra orthodox or the religious. All the Israeli women having between 3 and 4 children per woman, and this is amazingly different, totally different. That's what's happening in the rest of the world. By the way, the country that has less children than all other countries. You know which country it is?
You, well, I thought it was Chinese. I thought they were Asian countries. Okay, but I'm not sure.
They're in a very terrible situation. But the worst is Iran. So it's not only the West or Japan. It's
Iran has a low birth count? Really?
very low, very low. It's a crumbling civilization. Okay. Yes. So Israel is thriving, and that's amazing. Also, it's a modern state, Western society, mostly Western society. You would think that it will behave the same. It's not. And the
Well, you're
third
right.
thing,
I didn't know this, Moshe. This is actually very interesting.
yes, yes,
I said, does Iran have a low birth count? Yes. In fact, Iran has one of the lowest birth rates in the Middle East. Here are the key points. Replacement fertility is about 2.1 children per woman. That's the level needed for a population to replace. Iran's fertility rate has fallen dramatically. It was around 6 to 7 children in the 1980s, around 2 by the early 2000s. Today, estimates generally place it between 1.3 and 1.7, well below replacement. Recent Iranian officials have even cited a figure of 135.
yeah,
Population is aging. Iran will eventually face labor shortages and increasing pension and healthcare costs unless the trend reverses. People are marrying later, economic hardship, high housing costs, sanctions, and financial uncertainty, urbanization, and higher education levels. Many couples choosing to have only one child or none at all. Uh, interesting. Interesting. Oh,
yes,
you
yes,
knew that?
yep.
Okay.
And so that's the second thing. And the third thing is the heroism of the young generation, which is amazing and putting in shade the heroism that previous generations had, and they did, of course. But the heroism that we saw between our young soldiers and civilians and policemen and policewomen uh, more than any before. So we see here that the nation of Israel is very strong. The life energy inside it is amazing. We're gonna win against we're gonna win and get through all these challenges. We're gonna get rid of these stupid concepts that led the old generations, and the future is very, very promising to the people of Israel, to the state of Israel, and all Jews will come. Well, unfortunately, they'll have to. I think every Jew that will not come on his feet will come on his knees. Unfortunately, though, they should come as fast as can be. All Jews in the world, um, and the whole world will enjoy the fruits of the nation of Israel coming back to itself, to its country, to itself, to Jerusalem. God willing, building its the palace of God for the entire humanity. And as the blessing of Abraham was, those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Those who cursing us today will be cursed and gone. Those who bless us will be blessed by the people of Israel, by God through the people of Israel. Yes, I'm very optimistic. Being Jewish is about being optimistic.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer. I agree. I think the future is very, very bright, and hopefully we make the right choices going forward so we can see that happen sooner than later.
If I can, with your permission, recommend again, get into Amazon and get this book. Israel is just the beginning. Uh, you will not regret.
Okay. Yeah, definitely something I need to read as well. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. Um, of course, make sure to check out the books. Do your research on Moshe Feiglin. You can find so much content, interviews he's been on all over social media. And of course, follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your real estate needs. There's the buy me a coffee link if you'd like to support the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Did you have any closing points? Is there anything you want other than the book? Is there anything you wanted to mention? Whatever it is.
Just two words, Rafi. Oh, three actually. Come back home.
God willing, God willing. It's a conflict I have with myself. So we'll yeah. Okay, we'll talk off camera, but
Okay.
thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you tune into the next one.
You're very welcome.